folks, how y'all doing? Trent Clark here with Mallett Buildings. Happy Monday to you. We got a show for you today. Of course, it's Monday, so you'll be hearing from our engineer, Daryl. So let's get started. As always, we like to start out every day and tell you about our $500 discount to military personnel, healthcare workers, educators, and first responders. If you're one of those people and interested in the building, make sure you grab your $500. Now, if you want to upgrade to an elite or a signature or elite building, you can get $1,000. All you got to do is type in cash to a live feed just like this one. We'll give you a $1,000 discount. Okay? So, new thing is, not a new thing, but we got a new spin on the old thing, and that is our referral program. So we'll give you $200 every time you send us a customer that buys a building. Additionally to that is if you send us 10, we're going to still give you the $200, so you'll get $2,000, and then you can go ahead and pack your bags, and you can come stay at the ranch over here with Lee Mallett. He's going to cook dinner for you. Very nice place, catch fish. You know, nice little getaway. This is one of the cabins right here. It's actually a post frame building that we built. It's facing one of the ponds. There's a couple of cabins on the ranch like this, and this is where you'll be staying. So remember, you send us one referral, you get $200. Every referral after that, you get $200 again. When you reach 10, you get to take a trip, a little mini vacation, spend a weekend over here at the ranch. Okay? So now this is a new special we got going on. I told you all this last Thursday before the 4th of July. It's called the Cajun Oasis. You got a 20 by 30 by 12 for $29,999. This price is for the elite package, which got all the bells and whistles. I'll tell you a little bit about the elite in a minute, but you should know about it. Now with this package, you're going to get a basic electrical package, and we're also throwing in a packaged air conditioning system. So when you go in and turn on the lights of this building, it'll be cooled for you, okay? And the elite gets the bubble wrap. So this is a very cool little building. If you want to shop this air conditioned, or if you want to shop with a portion of it, like a workout facility, whatever you may want, or put this on the lake, we can most certainly do that for you. This is a good hot sale. It's our elite package, folks. Now, additional to that sale, we had these. You got a 30 by 50, a 40 by 50, and a 40 by 60. Different prices over here, but you get to pick whether your size roll-up doors, okay? You get to pick either or. You got option one is whatever size roll-up doors you want, there's no extra cost, or whatever height you want. So you got a 30 by 50 for $43,998. You got a 40 by 50 for $53,950. You got a 40 by 60 for $61,598. You can pick your height on any of these three buildings, or you can pick the different size doors, which there's usually an upcharge for height. There's usually an upcharge for doors. So typically, you could save up to $3,000 if you go to the door, if you choose to pick your door. In other words, an elite usually comes with two 10 by 10 roll-up doors, but we're giving you the option. You could pick 12 by 12 or 12 by 14, which that value is $3,000. Or if you're looking for a higher building, we usually have to charge more for the height of that building. So in this, for instance, let's say if it's a 16-foot tall eave height, you're going to save $7,000. We're throwing it in on those specials. So you can pick either or. Great deal. You need to really consider that if you're looking at the elite package. Now, if you want a value building, of course, remember our value building is better than our competitor's best building. Okay, they can't touch our value building. Now, if you're looking for a value building, we got a 30 by 40 by 12 for $25,999. That's $21.67 a square foot. Great prices we got going on here. Okay, you got a 30 by 60 by 12 for $35,999. That's $19.99 a square foot, folks. Then you have a 40 by 80 by 12, $63,999. That's $19.99 a square foot. Now let's see what the value building comes with. Like I said, our value building is better than our competitor's best building. Why? Because you get 2 by 6 scissor truss standard. Our competitors don't do that. You're going to get, in this building, you're going to get 2 by 12 headers. Our competitors are not going to do that. They're going to give you 2 by 8 headers. Okay? You get 4 on 12 roof pitch. Okay? You get 26 gauge metal on roof and walls. Our competitors are not going to do that. They're going to give you 29 gauge. Okay? One roll-up door, one walk-through door, engineered mono truss, 4-inch, 4,000 PSI microfiber concrete. Our competitors are going to give you 3,000. Why is that important? Because our concrete standard is 4,000 PSI, which is 33% stronger than our competitors, which is at 3,000. Now, when you add the microfiber in that, you're making it stronger, and we know that for a fact because of it goes through the whole volume of the concrete. Our competitors don't do that. They're going to give you a rusty wire mesh, okay, that they have to try to make in the middle of that concrete. Most of the time, folks, it's going to fall to the bottom. I'm just saying. They're guessworking you. We're putting the science behind it. We add 1 bag of microfiber per yard of concrete. It costs more. That's why our competitors don't want to do it. Anyway, you get a 4-year workmanship warranty on our value building. Most of our competitors only been in business for a year. I don't understand. I don't know how they could even give you a 4-year warranty, but some of them say 10-year warranty on some of their buildings. I just don't know how to do that. We've been in business for 26 years, folks. We're going to be here for the long haul. We can back up our 10-year warranty that we give on the Elite package. Now, that's the value. If you have any questions, I'll be glad to talk to you. Our building specialists are downstairs. They can talk to you. Let's go to the Signature Building. Signature Building is going to be a notch above the value building. Why? Because you're going to get 2x8 scissor truss. Nobody builds a 2x8 truss in the industry, folks. We do it bigger and better, okay? 2x8 scissor truss standard. 5-on-12 roof pitch, standard. They're not going to do that. They're going to give you 4-on-12 or 3-on-12. 26 gauge metal roof and wall insulation, 2 10x10 roll-up doors, 6-year workmanship warranty on the Signature Building. Okay? Everything else that the value gets, you get on that. Okay? Now, when you get to the Elite package, this building has everything that I just talked to you, plus more. All the bells and whistles come with this building. 2x8 scissor truss, standard, 10-year workmanship warranty. We're going to tighten up our truss and post spacing on this building to 3-foot truss spacing, 9-foot post spacing. That's going to give you this 145-mile-an-hour wind rating, okay? More wood, okay? You're still going to get the 5-on-12 roof pitch, 2 10x10 roll-up doors. You still get standard here at Mallett, 26 gauge metal on all roof and wall, and you get roof and wall insulation. We're going to give you gutters and gutter brushes, okay? We're throwing that in. Like I said, this building is the best in the country. It has all the bells and whistles. We throw in gutters. You don't have to go buy gutters afterwards. That's going to save you $25, $20 to $25 a linear foot around that building. We're giving it to you. We're giving you control joints after we pour the concrete. On this particular building, when you step into the Elite building, nobody else does any Mallett building, but the Elite building is superior to any building out there. We give you 6-inch, 4,000 microfiber concrete. 6-inch is 2.5 times stronger than 4-inch. When you add that microfiber that our competitors don't do, and that 4,000 PSI, our competitors give you 3, we had just set the standard, the best building in the country, okay? That's what you get in the Mallett building. And like I said, after we pour that concrete, we go cut your control joint. You're going to get post protectors in this building, insulated windows in this building. Everything else that all of our other buildings come with, you're going to get continuous ridge vent is a feature on this building. Wainscot, which is extra on most buildings and our competitors, we throw that in. So this Elite package is the best in the business, folks. If you truly want the best building out there, with the best products, okay? Because there's a lot of people that say they can do a Mallett building, but they really don't. Why? Because we use #1 kiln dry lumber throughout our whole building, okay? We got 2x12 headers. Our competitors just don't do that. We got the cable retention system in all of our buildings, standard. That's going to help tremendously with the uplift. Our competitors just don't do that, folks. 26 gauge metal we do here, our competitors are going to do 29 gauge, okay? Time and time again, I can go on 4 or 5 more items. Concrete under every post. Our competitors don't do that. They don't believe they need to. Okay, they will do it if you ask them. They're going to charge you. Okay, it's standard in our building, folks. We know what needs to be done, and that's why we do it, because we want to build the best building. When we say we build the best building in the industry, we want to back that up, and that's what we do. So, question after this. a few words, Daryl's going to come talk to you. Okay? Hold tight.
Hey, I'm the engineer here at Mallett, and I just wanted to explain a little bit about how bigger is better, and you'll hear Trent say that, and why 2x8 trusses are better than 2x6 trusses, why 4x4 posts are better than, 6x6 posts are better than 4x4 posts, and why 2x12 beams are better than 2x8 beams. And as I have said before, the Mallett Building is a building that shows a commitment to excellence and going a step above. And because Lee Mallett, the owner, doesn't want a building that is designed down to the nub based on the design wind load, but instead he goes a step above what would be required by the design calculations. And I guess every person in all different fields has their product tested in some way. If you're a cook at a restaurant, your product is tested at every meal, because somebody will say, man, this isn't any good, or this is the best I've ever tasted, and so the product is tested. Well, in the world of construction and engineering, our product is tested when we have these storm events. Down south, we have the hurricanes that I mention and talk about all the time. Up north, they have snow events, where a building is just standing there all year, and then all of a sudden it's got 6 inches of snow on it. And so it's designed for the worst case scenario. And so that's why it's good to have a building that is a step above and not designed just down to the nub. But just real quickly, and I understand, you have to be careful when you're giving a presentation and you start talking about numbers, because people's eyes glaze over and they give you that dead fish look. And so I don't want to go into great detail with this, but it's really pretty simple. So when in the world of engineering, we're taught at school to base our design on the design moment and on the deflection. And you see, the deflection really, as I've gotten older, that is the big thing. A perfect illustration of that is if someone is if someone's remodeling their kitchen and they take out a bearing wall, and a contractor comes in and replaces where the wall was, he puts a beam to span where the wall was. Well, you don't want that beam to just be strong enough, but you want that beam to be straight. Because if it's strong enough and it doesn't fail, but when you look at it, it's got a bow in it, well, your wife's going to make you fix that. And so deflection is the key. And you see the formula for deflection, it's got an L to the fourth, and it's got an E and an I. Well, the L to the fourth is the length, and that's length times length times length times length. And that's why when you're doing some kind of design in your house, if you have a beam that's 10 feet long, that's one thing. But every foot you increase that is multiplied by that length, by that length, by that length, by that length. So it's very significant. So when you get up to 20 feet long, you just got to do something special. But it's based on this formula. And this I is what I want to talk about today. I'll tell you about the E later on. The I is BD cubed divided by 12. Now, and that's just, the B is the width and the D is the depth. And so the depth is very significant in the case of a beam. But just in general, you see a 4x4 post has a moment of inertia of 12.5. A 6x6 post has a moment of inertia of 76. And so a 6x6 post is 6 times more rigid than a 4x4 post. That's why when you're buying a building, it's a big deal if it's got 6x6 posts as opposed to 4x4. The moment of inertia of a 2x8 is 20.79. I'm sorry, I got that wrong. The moment of inertia of a 2x6, it should say, is 20.79. The moment of inertia of a 2x8 is 47.63. So a 2x8 truss cord is 2 times more rigid than a 2x6. So that's why it's good that we put the 2x8s in these trusses, because that top cord is going to be 2 times more rigid than a 6x6. And that step above helps you in these storm events that happen. And then the last piece is a 2x8 compared to a 2x12, because a lot of people use 2x8s on that top beam that the trusses sit on. And a 2x12 beam is 2.5 times more rigid than a 2x8 beam. So there again, it's the same way with, just as I've said, it's a step above. And so that's the building you're getting when you get a Mallett building. It's a much more rigid building. And so bigger is better, but we can tell you exactly how much better it is by using these boring engineering formulas. Well, that's my talk for today. I'll see y'all next week.
Thanks, Daryl. That was some good information. So what happens, let's get back to the show. What happens after the point of, after you sign a contract here at Mallett Building? Well, so you sign the contract, you need to make sure you know where all your doors and windows are going to place. We're going to ask you that, okay? We're going to ask you to make sure you finalize all your colors. That's very important. If not, it could get held up in contracting area for a while until you get that information to us. But once you get all that information, it goes to design. Designers may have a couple of days before they get there. It states in our contract how many days we have until we have to get with you. They're going to send you a welcoming letter whenever it gets to them, okay? After that, after you went through your design and that you have signed off and approved your design, it's going to go to permit and plans. So if you don't need permits, we're going to still ask you to, it's still going to go into that department. We're going to ask you to get your permit. Once you get your permit, we'll move you on. Or if you're not required to have a permit, we're going to ask you to sign a permit waiver. At that point, we're done with that. We're going to get you on the delivery board. Okay, right now, because if we had 21 or 22 inches of rain in the last couple of months, our delivery board is now, it used to be 8 weeks, now we're more like 10 to 12 weeks behind on your delivery. Okay, so once you get on the delivery board, you can expect to have about 10 to 12 weeks. Now, as we get better weather and our builders are able to get all this stuff complete. However, we do have to work with the heat now. Now it's so hot out there that these guys are having to take breaks and sometimes, you know, even shut down at a certain time of the day. But anyhow, you get on the delivery board. Once you're in the week that we deliver, we're gonna be in communication with you. We're gonna call you. We're gonna say, hey, tentatively delivering you this week. And then when you get on that week, we'll call you the day, you know, before or a couple of days before, telling you we're going to deliver your building. And then our drivers actually call you the morning of delivery, okay? And then once the building is done, forming happens, and then concrete, and then final installation and inspection. Okay, let's see what we got. Design. I just kind of went through this, so I'm going to skip this part, okay? But right here it says we have 15 days. Sometimes it's right now it is not taking that long. I mean you're literally getting in there and they're giving you a welcoming letter right now, and y'all can start working back and forth to design your building. Permits, if your permit requires stamp plans or engineer approved to the designs and stamp them, we do that in-house, so it might not take as long as other places. You know, like I said, our competitors have to do source that out. You just met Daryl. He if it's stamp plans, he signs off on all that. Okay, so that's that. All right. Now delivery. I kind of told you about that. One we have your permit or waiver, you schedule. Right here it says 6 to 8 weeks, but that's not accurate right now. Like I said, we had 22 inches of rain in the last 2 months. It's put a lot of things behind schedule. Okay, so we're more like, you know, 12 weeks. Behind right now, okay? So once material gets delivered, our crews arrive within 2 weeks. Usually it's within a week, and start building your building. Crews take 3 to 4 days to assemble your building. That is true because all they're doing is they're erecting that building. Now, it's critical that you be there whenever they place in the building, right? So we have 3 checkpoints. Checkpoint number 1 is going to be elevation and placement of your building. We ask you to be there. You have to be there to tell us where you want the building faced and where you want it square. Okay, and that's the time that if you have any elevation needs, okay, what do I mean by that? If the parish tells you that you have to be at a certain elevation, that's one. Or if you want your concrete to from a driveway to be at the top of your building, that's very important information. You have to let the builder know. We're gonna ask you to sign off on that sheet. Once you sign off on that sheet, we're good to start building your building or placing your building. We'll string it up and we'll start putting posts in, headers, and then we'll start hanging the truss. Now, checkpoint 2 is going to be on the framing inspection. It's very important, you know, that you are there to make sure that the framing inspection is done, okay? We build off of what your design approval said. So if you signed off on something that a window is placed, we're going to build that building as per your design approval. Now, if you think that it's wrong or whatever, you need to let us know right then and there, because once we go to the next phase, which is putting the metal on, it's going to be over with. So checkpoint number 2, we're going to ask you to sign off on the framing inspection. That's whenever you're going to make sure the doors, wings, windows, everything is where you think they need to be and or where you approve them to be, okay? The final phase is your building is erected, okay? Final phase with the builder, your building is erected. The builder is going to ask you to sign off on it, and you're going to give him your second payment at that point. When you sign off on it, remember I asked you to sign off on the placement before we even started your building and the elevation, okay? Then in checkpoint number 2 or sign off number 2 was the framing inspection, where I asked you to look at everything, and you're the contractor on record there. Yes, we are building your building, but you didn't hire us to be the contractor. You can for 15% more, but most people don't. They think they can do it themselves, and that's fine. That's why we have checkpoint number 2 in place, so you have to make sure that all that is accounted for. If you have framed openings and you're putting your own, you didn't purchase your windows or doors from us, we're going to make, in page 14 of our contract, it states that you need to have your windows and doors there so we can make sure that we are checking the frame openings on that window. our door. For in other words, if you got a 42-inch door, and your design approval, you signed off on 42 inches, but yet you needed 44 inches because you didn't read the fine print and it said opening, that's what the manufacturer requires the opening to be so they can shimmy up that door and everything. Well, then guess what? We're going to have a problem. So those are the things that you have to do your due diligence on as being a contractor on record. But we have checkpoints for all that, okay? That's where that framing checkpoint. So very important that you pay attention to this. You've hired us to build your building, and we're going to do that according to what you signed off on. If you signed off on you saying that you had a 42-inch door and you really needed a 44-inch rough opening, we're going to have a problem. So remember that. That's why we have these live, so we can educate you on what's going on and what's about to happen. But on page 14, it does say in there to have your doors and windows if we do framed openings for you, so we can make sure that the framed openings are the proper size. Anyway, so that's 3 checkpoints. That's the building, what you can expect after concrete. Now, after what I just talked to you about, at that point, once you sign off on your full building inspection, we're going to send an inspector out there, okay? You're going to sign off on it. We're going to send an inspector out there just to overview things, make sure. The real reason why he's there, though, is to take calculations of how much fill sand you're going to need. It doesn't matter if you have we recommend you have a pad, but it doesn't matter if you have a pad that you bought or not. You're still going to require needing some fill sand. Why? Because fill sand, we got to get the grade pretty perfect, if you will. So fill sand allows us to get the grade exactly at whether you're doing a 4-inch or a 6-inch slab. So you're going to be required to get fill sand. The inspector that we're going to send out there is going to calculate that fill sand for you. We have a program that he does, strings up, measures several different points of your building, and that's how we calculate your fill sand. So at that point, the forming crew is going to go do that. You're going to get the fill sand. The forming crew is coming back out there. We're going to get it to grade. We're going to put your membrane down, okay? And then we're going to do our cable retention system. And then right here you can see that we actually measure before we leave to make sure the grade is that this person's getting a 6-inch slab. Make sure that the grade is where it needs to be before we leave, okay? At that point, you're going to get you're going to get concrete. After the forming's done, we're going to schedule your concrete. Okay, we like to try to do that pretty quickly after the form is to grade. Why? Because you let it sit too long, it might go down, or if you got a lot of weather, it may happen that. It may happen that. If we got to go back, there may be a charge. So we try to get that scheduled. Okay, the only thing that's going to stop us from doing that is like holding up on payment. So it's very important that everything, our process goes according to plan. And we will explain this the whole mess of the way. We like to text message our customers, okay? If you don't like text message, you need to tell somebody at the time you do our contract. The problem with word of mouth is we don't really like to go off of verbal talk. When it's something serious, we like to have documentation here at Mallett. In other words, if I'm talking to you on the phone and I say, hey, Mr. Customer, you need 10 yards of sand, okay? And I don't do it any other way, and then we get the forming crew out there and you only had 5 yards of sand, and then we call and it's not enough to do the job, that means I'm going to have to send them back out there, which may cost you money, and then we don't have any documentation. And the customer may say, well, I thought he said 5 yards. So that's why I'm letting you know that we do communicate verbally, but we like to back everything up text message. So understand that. That way we have documentation and everything is transparent amongst us and you. We do that for a reason. We've been doing this a long time. We know what needs to be done to take care of your best interests. Okay? So after the forming, the concrete is done. And you can see here that he's on top of it finishing it up with the whirly burn right now, okay? We're going to ask you at that point, let's back that up. At the forming stage, we're going to ask you for another payment, okay? And then at the concrete, we're gonna ask you for another payment. And you will see, we ask that you be here on site for the pour, okay? That's very important because once concrete cures, there's no going back, okay? You're required to be there or somebody to represent you to be there. Why? Because we need to know what your finish is like. Do you want it broomed? Do you want it slick? What's your finish? Also gonna ask you to walk through and sign off on it because like I said, there's no going back once that concrete cures, okay? So that's very important, all right? Once the concrete is poured, we will finish installation or installing building features like gutters, maybe some electrical, maybe some doors. And the reason why we do that, folks, is because, you know, we like to do those little things last because if you have a downspout or something, it could get, you got a lot of people running around that building as you're doing forming and concrete, and some of them downspouts and stuff like that could get damaged. Same thing with the electrical. You got wires in there and we come in to do the bigger things before that, you know, some of that stuff can be done. So the little things we do, we wrap that up at the end, okay? So just for future knowledge, because we always got a lot of people that ask us why we do that at the end. I want to explain that to you. So every step is monitored, okay? So it starts out when you're ticking on the board, we take that picture, and the whole process, when we deliver your building, before it leaves the yard, we are taking pictures of your product or your building on the truck. When it gets to your site, we're taking pictures of all the product, okay? We have our builders that get there, we have them take a picture of the product so we can see if anything got damaged between those 2 points. Plus, if something did get damaged, we can hurry up and try to get that in so we don't stop the builders from building your building. All through the steps of the process, the builder's taking video and or pictures of the process. We have certain pictures that we enforce them to take. For instance, you know, the depth of your holes, you know, the engineer and us over here, we like to make sure that the way we spec it out on your plans that we are building your building accordingly. And the reason why we do that is so we document that. We document how many ollie logs are attaching your truss to the post. It's all documented. So we have our builders taking all these pictures and our videos all the way through. Our inspectors taking pictures of our videos. Our foreman crew is taking pictures of our videos. The whole process, we are there. Somebody is here monitoring the whole process of what's going on, okay? And that's kind of what this entails, you know. So it goes from there. There's your ticket on the board. You kind of see where we delivered on site. You know, you can see some of the pictures that we require. We require more. I didn't put them all on here, but you can see that our minimum is 3 foot. And these holes, every hole, they're documenting. You can see the dry 80-pound concrete is the bottom of this thing. These are the things we look for, okay? We look for this. We want that aggregate to be at the bottom, just like we say we do, okay? Pictures along the way of how they're doing it, okay? This is when they grade it out. Remember I said you will need fill sand? You see how easy and even that fill sand goes? Even if you have a perfect pad, you know, a perfect pad's still going to have gaps in there. We like to take this sand and fill in them gaps and try to get it to the perfect grade. He's going to walk and take measurements amongst that whole building, all the way down that building. And you can see right here, this is a 6-inch slab because he's got 2 marks. He's got a 4-inch and a 6-inch. Here it is blown up. You can see that, okay? Every step of the way, we have a process. We've been doing this for a long time. You can trust that we're going to do it the proper way for you. And we got documentation to back it up, okay? You can see the concrete going in. This is our gutter guy. After the concrete is done, our gutter guy is going to put the gutters up. Now, I hope I gave you a little bit of information of how the process is done after you sign your contract. We kind of explain this to you when you hear signing your contract. Our building specialist can too. But if you're out there and you're in the market to buy a building and you're shopping competitors, please understand that our competitors' best building cannot even touch our value building. They can't come close to our signature building. And they really can't come close to the elite package that's got all the bells and whistles. Why? Daryl told you earlier, everything we do is bigger and better, okay? And we can back it up with the right specs. We're gonna use number one kiln-dried lumber, okay? It's very important. I can go into the detail with you there to tell you why that's important, but that's another show. But if you're out there shopping, you want to bring us a bid, we'll beat our competitor by $1,000, okay? Apples to apples. All right, so that's not the best part. The best part is you're going to be dealing with a company that's been doing this for 26 years. We are a licensed professional engineer firm. You met Daryl, he's our engineer on staff here. We're going to be here for the long haul. All of our warranties are legitimate workmanship warranties. I think we're the only one in the business that can tell you that we give out our 10-year warranties, our longest workmanship warranty that we have. We've been in business for 26 years. That's why I feel very confident that you can trust us that our 10-year warranty is going to exist for you. However, our competitors only been in business for a year or two, and they're acting like they can throw a 10-year warranty. Ask yourself this question: are they going to be around in 5 years? Are they going to be around in 4 years? Are they really going to be around in 10 years to back that workmanship warranty up? If not, you might want to consider thinking about that question. Now, here's the scorecard. Everybody up here, which is our competitors that do what we do, and they say they build a Mallett building. That's just not true. They don't do it, they can't do it, and they will not do it. They can't catch us. We're light years ahead of them. Why? Because we've been doing it for 26 years. We build our own trust here. We're fixing to roll our own metal, okay? All quality is done here. We don't have third party all the way up to our engineers, all in-house here. We don't have to send plans out to get stamped, wait 2, 3, 4 weeks to do that. You met Daryl. He's here every Monday for you to talk to on a live show. He's real. You can talk to him if need be, okay? My point is, we don't outsource our stuff. Our competitors have to have somebody else build their truss for them. They have to order that truss. That's why they can't give you a scissor truss like ours is standard, okay? These competitors right here all got Fs. Start out Southern Style, Rob Built, Precision, Ranger, Beck, Fortify, Apache, Branded Building, RJM Construction, and Southern Style are Fs in our books. We're the only ones with 100% A+ rating, okay? Now, let's get back to our specials. Cajun Oasis, this is an elite building that we're giving an electrical package with air conditioning. It's a 20 by 30 by 12 for only $29,999. Like I said, electrical package in this building is $6,000. A 3-ton package unit is $7,500 value. We're throwing that into this building, folks. This is a heck of a deal, okay? Put it in your backyard. You can put it by the lake. You can put it wherever you would like to put it, okay? And you turn on the switch when we're done, and you're going to be getting cool in there and have lights in there. Why? Because we're throwing all that in this special for you. Good deal. Elite. You got a 30 by 50 by 12 for $43,999. You got a 40 by 50 for $53,950. You got a 40 by 60 for $61,598. Why didn't I say 14 or 16? Because any one of these buildings, you got two choices for that price. Choice number one is 14 foot, 12 foot, or 16 foot tall. That's normally we charge you extra $7,000 for that. We're throwing that in these buildings. That's choice number one. Choice number two is you can have any size roll-up door, okay? That's a feature we have to upcharge for because that usually charges us more. That costs us more. The height costs us more. We got to pay our builders. We got builders' risk insurance. We got all this stuff that's the reason why the price goes up. But on these buildings, these particular buildings this week, we're giving you those two options. So if you're in the market, you need to really look at this, folks. Now, let's get back to our value building. Remember, our value building, okay, is better than our competitor's very best building. Okay, this is our lowest tier building. Better than any competitor out there's best building. All right, you got a 30 by 40 by 12 for $25,999. That's $21.67 a square foot. Okay, you got a 30 by 60 by 12 for $35,999. That's $19.99 a square foot, folks. Unbeatable pricing right here. You got a 40 by 80 by 12 for $63,999. That's $19.99 a square foot. Okay, these prices are real. They might not last next week, so if you're in the market, you need to jump on it. Okay? If you want to look at a building, tell our building specialists we have ambassadors out there. All they're going to do is they're going to know where you live, and they're going to set up a meeting that you go look at a building that our ambassador has, and you can ask them questions about how they like doing business with us. That's what they're there for. We got thousands of ambassadors out there that are representing us. They're customers representing us. Okay, so we can set that up for you. Again, I want to go over our referral program. We're going to give you $200 every customer you send that buys a building from us here at Mallett. Every time you send us a customer. So if you send 10, we're going to pay you $2,000. It's $200 each. But if you get to 10 customers, guess what? Pack your bags and come stay at the ranch. Okay? Fishing. We had a little lady catch 5 bass in an hour, this big, the other day. Lee's going to personally cook for you over there. Okay? This is well, I thought we had a picture, but the cabins are nice. Their cabins are built out of post frame. We built them. You can see, what a post frame building, a little cabin looks like. It's going to be a good weekend. So if you get us 10, you get to go there. So I think that's our show today, folks. We appreciate your business with